one to underline right there. Why is he waiting on God? Why is he waiting on God? I'm actually asking you a question. Why is he waiting on God? Good point, Mark. Well, look at the contents of the text. Look at verse 9. He said, because of his strength, I'm going to wait on him. I remember several times, I know it's going to sound very hard for any of you to believe this, but when I was a young kid, my mouth would get me in trouble. I know it's hard to believe it. I know. And I didn't care if it was the big guys or the little guys. I wouldn't care. But I got into it with this one guy. And he was probably 10 years older than I was. Man, he wouldn't be up and down the street like you wouldn't believe. Got done, I was busted up, bruised, whatever it was. And I told him this right here. I said, you had enough? I'm busted. I said, you had enough? He said, you got more? I said, you wait right here. My brother's at home, and he's your age. He'll come down here and he'll whip you. I went down to the house. I walked upstairs. My brother was playing the drums up in the attic. I walked up into the attic. He stopped banging on them drums. He said, what happened to you? I said, a guy about your age down the street just whipped me right down the street. My brother come down out of the attic, marched right down the street with me. He said, where's he at? I said, he's standing right there in the so-and-so colored shirt. My brother went over there. You know what he did for me? He whipped that guy for me. I believe that's where David's at right now. He's standing there saying, I'm just going to wait for you, God, because God, your strength is greater than my strength. Your strength, God, is greater than anything that I could mount up with all of my men in the military, anything that we can do, God. Your strength is greater than all that. And I love the fact that how he closes that verse. He said, because of the strength will I wait upon the Lord. Oops. How many times have we not done that very part? I can handle it, God. I got this. Let me handle it. I've got it. Let me handle it. I've got it. And no sooner did you put your hand into it, you said, man, I should have waited on God. Right? And what has happened? David has said, I know I can get out there. I know I've got a mighty man and a military with me. We could probably make a good impact on what's happening. But the end result is we're going to die. But the right thing for me to do is this. I'm just going to wait upon the Lord because his strength is greater than mine. How does he conclude that? He said, for God is my deliverer. So many times we get ourselves in trouble because we try to put our place in God. Will we say it again? So many times we get ourselves in trouble because we try to put our place in God's place. He's the one who can do the work. He's the one that has the ability and the power. And we need to wait on him. I want you to see this very closely. The persecuted, the cry of the persecuted is one of deliverance and one of defense. But I want you to see point number 3. I want to share with you point number 3. This is, I think, the key to the chapter. In point number 3, we're going to see the chorus of the protected. The chorus of the protected. Now, you remember last week, Erica was playing. I said, let's finish that song up a little bit. We'll just redo the chorus again. And then my mind went to another song. I was literally standing here humming another song while she was playing that. And I said, well, let's just do the chorus over again. And then she went back to the start of the song and was doing the verses. And I was back on the chorus. And I was all messed up. Because my mind was in a different place. I was on a different song. Even though we just sang it, played it, and all that, my mind was somewhere else. And because of that, I could not get the right tune to come out of my mouth and lead the right song at that very moment. Do you all remember that last week? Some, Marcia, it wasn't, you're not supposed to raise your hand. I'm just saying. Just saying. Just saying. Y'all remember how bad it was? I was so bad off, stuff. Yeah, all right. All that happened. Why did that happen? Because my mind was not in the right place. My mind was on a different song. My tune, my musical box up here was somewhere else, and it wasn't singing the right things. Even though the music was playing, I wasn't in tune with that, and because of that, I was out of place in the congregation. Hey, can I let you see verse number 16 and 17? Drop down there with me. Boy, this will make a Baptist shot right here. When your mind's right, look at verse 16. But in spite of all that's happened in the previous verses, I will sing of thy power. Yea, I will sing aloud of thy mercies in the morning, and for thou hast been my defense and refuge in the day of trouble. And because of that, verse 17 unto thee, O my strength, will I sing. You know why David could sing that song? Because he took time in verse number 9 to wait upon God as his deliverer. If David would have went out in the field of battle and got where he was not supposed to be, David would have died on the battlefield and he would never have had a song to sing. And when you and I get out of our place, if we get in the way of God, we're going to die out on the battlefield. We'll have no song to sing because we're out of tune and not in the right place with God. Hey, hold on a minute. That's good preaching, preacher, because that's solid right there. Tell me that when we are in the right place, we've got a song worth singing.
Yes.
Amen. Look at what takes place here. The choir or the chorus of the protected is singing about God's great power. You know what David is singing? He is singing that God was not only so good to him at this very moment, but he was good to him yesterday, and he's going to be good tomorrow. His power is enough. I simply want you to hear me very well here. He does not need your power. I know it's hard. That's a tough saying, preacher. He doesn't need our help. He's the great I am. He formed the world. He formed you and I out of dirt. Did he need our help then? I believe he even asked the question, if I'm right in this, in the book of Isaiah, were you there? Were you there? Were you there? Were you there when all this took place? Who else did this thing? God did the work, and he didn't need our help then. Can I help you with this? He doesn't need our help today.
Amen.
He doesn't need it. His power is sufficient. He's able to take care of this need in our lives. But I also want you to see, not only does he give him power, but I believe he gives him mercy. Look at the verse. He said, I will sing aloud of thy mercy in the morning. That leads me to think that this story is taking place in the afternoon or the nighttime. These people are encamped around David's palace. All this is happening. David has just realized God's power is enough. And he said, Lord, when I wake in the morning, I'm going to sing about your mercy. I just try to put myself there. And I'm just thinking like this. I'm David. I pillow my head. I'm going to bed. I'm resting in the power of God. I'll just tell you this. There's not times that I really have stayed up all night, wringing my hands out about situations and things of life. I'm just at a point where I'm 48 years old. God's brought me this far. I think if he did this good, this far, and he can take care of tomorrow. I just say, Lord, you know what it is? Here it is. I lay it out there before I go to bed. And listen, there's times I don't even barely pillow my head. I'm off in the la-la land. And listen to me very close. There's also time God wakes me up in the middle of the night. I can lose my sleep, and I'm walking the floor. And I'm looking out that front door, that back door window, and I'm looking out there, and I'm asking God, what do you got me out for? What am I supposed to be doing? Who am I supposed to be praying over? What is going on? And what's the situation right here? And I'll just talk to him for a quick minute. It ain't too long after that, some things start coming to my mind, and next thing you know, I'll start praying. I'll be standing there at the door, and I'll be praying, and I'm looking up towards heaven and asking God to intervene and do all this stuff. Here's what I believe David did. I'm just giving you a little step commentary. I put myself in the story. All these people are gathered around his palace. Everything's falling apart. And all of a sudden, David starts to remember God's power is sufficient. His grace is evermore. And he realizes, no matter what's on the outside, I know what's on the inside. I'm going to go to bed and remember his mercies from yesterday, today, and even for tomorrow. Here's what I believe happened. David wakes up in the morning. You put it your way. You preach it your way. When you get there, I believe David woke up in the morning, looked out the window, and all the enemies was laid out slain at the very foot of his palace.
Amen.
I thought about that today. And what makes me think about that so much is that David couldn't help himself but say, God, it's your power. And God, it's your mercy. And God, it's your deliverance. David, I love to share with this story. Tony Evans shared this story a long time ago. He said there's two woodpeckers out on this tree, and man, they're just wearing this tree out. I mean, they're packing away at this thing. All of a sudden, the storm rolls in. One of the birds runs off, goes back to his little nest for protection. The other one just stays there and just keeps on pecking. In the middle of all that pecking, lightning hits that tree, splits that thing wide open. Those other birds come back over to see all the noise. What happens? The little woodpecker that stuck around said, hey, see what I did? That's where we get. That's how we act. David is saying, and they're saying, God, I remember your power, and I'm seeing your mercies. Lord, I could have been wiped out here tonight, but here it is morning time, and I'm just going to give you a little praise. It looked bad. You ever heard that Bible verse say that joy cometh in the morning? What is it? Darkness and all that stuff may endure just for the night, but joy cometh in the morning. It may look bleak and dark at the very moment, but listen to me, church. You're on the winning side of things. I'll tell you that again. Listen to me, church. You're on the winning side of things. Amen. The mercies of God are new every morning. I see that in verse number 16. But I also see in verse number 16, he not only, his choir or his chorus is not only about the power and the mercy, but I also see that he's got a refuge in God. He said, "For thou hast been my defense and refuge in the day of trouble." In the day of trouble. It simply goes along these lines. God is our great defender. God is our great protector. And as he being that shield and that buckler between David's palace and David's foes, I believe this to be this person, this position right here, right now, as a deliverer and also his refuge to be just like this. God walks in on the scene and walks in front of David, steps in front of David, and simply takes his hands and puts David behind him, and then God goes and defends David. That makes God not only his defense and deliverer, remember in verse 1 and verse 9, but it also makes him his refuge. Nothing is getting to David because God's in between his enemies and David. Who's greater than God? Who's getting past God? So I see it like this. David's in the midst of this battle. All this is taking place. God shows up on the scene, and he becomes that buffer, that buckler between him and his enemies, and he simply stands out in front and puts himself in between David and his enemies. And when you do that, I believe the greatness of God is expounded like this, so much to the point, at such a refuge that you can't even see David because there's so much God on the scene. Wouldn't that be great if people looked at you in the middle of your trials and tribulations and don't see a down face, a mourning face, or a sorry face, but all they see is a joyful face knowing that God, in the midst of a great crisis for you, is all they can see. Because not only is he our deliverer, not only is he going to give us the end result that's needed, but he's also going to protect us while we're in that middle of the battle. Well, I don't know about you, but I don't make this Baptist shout a little bit, knowing that God's standing out there in front of us. Knowing that so much is going on in life, that even when that happens, the great God of heaven shields us and gives us a place of refuge. Look at what it is. It's not only defense and refuge, but it's in the very day of trouble. When you need it most, God shows up. Lastly, I also see him in verse 17. He said, "Unto thee, O my strength." David's song is that, "O my strength will I sing, for God is my defense and the God of my mercy." I noticed that in the beginning, if you remember, I talked about the strength of the enemies. The reason that they've seemed so strong is because of the magnitude of how many of them were out there. Well, this is only one. One great God of Jehovah will always beat the enemies. No matter how big in number they are, God is greater. And David is saying, I've got one song to sing. God, you're my power, you're my mercy, you're my refuge, and you are my strength. And because of that, I see this thought tonight, and coming out of Psalm 59, our divine guardian is God. Amen. When it seems the bleakest, remember, everybody's encamped around, every enemy of David is camped around his house. It seems there's no hope. He doesn't focus in on the despair of the crowd. He focuses in on the cry of the persecuted and leads him into a choir song that he never knew he had. When you come through something on the other side, God will give you a song to sing that no one else can sing. I'm glad to know that we made it through on the other side. Preacher, what are you talking about? You're still going through things. You haven't sold your house. You haven't this. No, I haven't. Any of that stuff on the physical side. But spiritually, I've made it to the other side. All I'm waiting to do is transfer from here to there. I love that. I I've said it a few times since the day. Miss Betty Pierce said these words to me. She said, "Preacher, I'm ready to go home to Hebron." She said, "But more important than anything, I'm ready to go home to heaven." Simply telling you, I'm telling you what she's saying is, she's already got that. She's already inherited that. She's just waiting to go there and take possession of it. And that's where I am, and I pray that's where you are. As Mike comes and gets us a song, you ask yourself of this divine guardian, is he there for you? Is he available for you? Yes, he is. If you belong to him, he's a great God. He can